this will definitely be a video to a bit of a different tune, as it were, in terms of vlogging content. For those of you who have been following the vlogs, this is certainly something a bit different. I mean, really, I just don't have any, well, partially I don't really have any sort of grand adventures planned in the next, in the upcoming weeks or in the weeks prior to recording this. So I haven't got any of that sort of typical, adventuring, look how fun life is, vlog sort of content. So I thought I'd spend some time when I have it to talk about some slightly more serious things. Because it's kind of important stuff to address, I feel like, just when it comes to more life in general. And this isn't going to overtake the normal channel stuff for those who might be wondering. I do want to keep up regular blog stuff, and if I'm not out and about and adventuring, I thought just having a chat every once in a while could be kind of interesting. And on my mind a lot lately has been the idea of motivation and drive and pushing yourself to do stuff. You probably haven't noticed much of a difference in channel content since I talked about winding things down a little bit as I focus on some other stuff. I've still been pushing out content fairly regularly, but the ambition and the motivation to do that definitely does come and go. It's pretty tough. It's definitely tough, and I wanted to kind of talk about it and sort of try and normalize the idea of struggling to find motivation to do things. Because I'm sure it's not just me, and I'm sure, especially on a medium like YouTube, people can get the false impression that if you're not motivated and if you don't have ambition all the time, if you're not driven to do stuff, that you are a lesser human being, or that you're not as good as the people that you watch and aspire to and enjoy their content, whatever it might be, whatever medium they choose to put out their art, be it YouTube videos, be it music, be it drawing or painting or videography, whatever it could be. I can assure you that most of the content creators whose media you consume do have their bad days. And this came up recently, maybe a month or two ago. It was floating around some big YouTube channels, the idea of forced positivity. And it's a real thing. It's really a true thing. Especially, I can imagine, for those guys who do it full time. It can be tough, I'm sure, to, you've got to put on this certain persona every day of someone who's really loving this game that they're playing, or, oh my gosh, I'm having such a great day, watch this vlog where I had really fun times. And it can probably be forced at least a fraction of the time, I have no doubt. And that can really weigh on a person, It's especially with YouTube, there's this whole sort of aura, or this idea, this myth, or almost really, when you get down to it, that producing content, and it goes for a lot of things as well, a lot of creative outlets, people think, and to a certain extent rightly so, that would be living the dream, to find what you love, do what you love in terms of artistic creation, and make enough money to pay the bills with it. And that would still be true. I mean, I think on the whole, that would be a true thing. However, there's definitely still days where it becomes such a chore, and it can become like any other 9 to 5 that people, tend to suffer through in jobs that they don't like. And I battle with this a lot of the time, because even still, the notion of turning a hobby or a passion into something you make money out of, it goes from being fun and just being a thing you do on the side, and it's just passionate and you do it because you're into it and because you love it so much, and it turns into this thing that you have to make money out of. And it goes from being fun to being a job. And it could be a fun job, it could be something you're really still into, but then this added external pressure forces itself onto this artistic pursuit that you've had your whole life, or for a year, or for 6 months, or whatever it could be. And it can really make things a lot less fun. And this ties into the whole idea of motivation that I was talking about earlier, because when you really think about it, where does the whole drive of motivation come from? And I like to think and tell myself that ultimately motivation should come from an internal source. So you find pleasure and you take enjoyment and you find motivation purely from the endeavor itself, from the artistic pursuit. That the result, the fruits of your labor are a motivation in of itself, and you just love what you create, and it doesn't really matter what people think. But really, ultimately, is that the whole truth? And this is something I keep telling myself, it's either not true entirely or not just not true at all. A lot of the time, we're creating art to put out in the public eye, and especially with the advent of the internet and social media, and an audience is so accessible yet so hard to access at the same time, because you're 1 in a million or 5 million or 1 in a stupidly high number. Well, people try to do a very similar thing to yourself, and you can tell yourself that your content's unique, that your art is not like anyone else's, and it's probably true when it comes to certain minutiae. But there's people in this very similar genre, and especially with consumer media how it is right now, people bucket things into genres, so the idiosyncrasies and the specificities of what it is you do get lost because you're one of a million people that makes rock music, or you're one of a million people that does impressionist art, or you're 1 in a million people that does portrait photography. And so you can get lost amongst the noise of the internet, and it's really quite a shame. But then at the same time, you've got access to this million people, and really it's very, very easy to get lost. You take your joy and you derive your enjoyment and your love for what you do out of what people think of what you're creating. So if you put a video online and it only gets 10 views, a lot of people, including myself, will be demotivated to make another video of that type, because the only reason you made that video is the ambition of getting views. And so when no one views it, you stop making that thing. But then why did you make that video in the first place? Was it solely to get views, or was some part of you, something from within, some creative spark telling you that you just want to make this thing because it's a thing you want to make, and screw the people who do or don't watch it? No offense, of course. It's just a hypothetical. Ideally, you'd be creating things just for the sake of creating, but at the same time, you rely on the people who watch that content, who consume that content, who listen, what have you. You rely on them ultimately to make a living out of what it is that you're so passionate about, or to make a side hustle, as it were, and make a little extra coin, or all that sort of thing. But then some people, I'm sure, including myself, I'll put myself first on the chopping block and say that there's been a lot of times where what I'm creating is partially, if not the majority of what I'm doing, is driven by views, or by listens, or clicks, or whatever else have you. So, and if I'm true to myself, that's really not what I should be doing. But then there's always a part of me that's enjoying what I'm doing, regardless of whether I'm pursuing views or pursuing enjoyment out of creativity. And so I think I'm coming to the belief that there's no answer to this question. I'm sure there's times, and there's been times for me too, especially in my younger days, if I could even say that as a 26-year-old, that I was producing, especially music. I was just doing music because I was having such a fun time doing it, and it was this new pursuit. And maybe I think a lot of the times when it's the new thing, the first YouTube videos that Stevens and I created, for example, was just the new thing that we loved doing, right? So we loved pressing that record button and just going crazy and having a fun time, and it was just really fun. We put it on the internet because we just kind of wanted to see what might happen, but for me at least, it was really just to have fun with a good friend and create some fun stuff, and whatever happened. And it's kind of evolved, and there's viewers who watch the content, which of course is really amazing. I'm not trying to detract from what it is that you viewers do for content creators, and we love you for it, because it does give drive and support and motivation to keep creating more, and in of itself it's not entirely a bad thing. But when it gets to a point where you're deriving all your motivation from that external source, from external sources, then for me at least it becomes a lot less satisfying, I suppose, because if those consumers, those viewers, those listeners go away, then what have you been spending all your time on? If you've derived no personal satisfaction out of what it is you're doing, then what was it for? And So really, I mean, when it comes down to it, I feel like there's not a single answer to this question. There's really both sides of the coin fold in to form an answer, if you will, but it's just an argument that's subject to entropy. You just go around in circles, and ultimately there's no single truth to finding motivation. It's tough, and I have my down days, that's for dang sure, especially in the last couple of weeks. You know, I've just wasted whole days not wanting to create anything for whatever reason, just being really down and unfocused and unmotivated. Regardless, like even internally there was no motivation, and frankly there was no motivation to produce content for viewers, for you guys who subscribe to the channel, and that really sucks for me and for you. So, but then it's not like a knock against anyone. These things happen. I'm sure everyone has their down days, and that's fine. That's okay. So yeah, I don't think there's a single truth here, but it's just an interesting idea to explore and something to keep mindful of. What you do should definitely be for you, at least in part. If you lose that spark that gets you out of bed in the morning to make something new, to create something no one else has created, regardless of who's going to watch it or listen to it or click on it, in my opinion, you might be headed down, one might be headed down a bit of a dark road. I think we've all faced it from time to time. So I guess that's all I have to say on the subject. This was definitely a bit of a ramble, really a bit of a cathartic experience, because it's been on my mind a lot lately, so I just kind of wanted to get it out there and have a conversation about it for sure. If you guys have any thoughts or feelings, yeah, totally just a ramble and a bit of catharsis. I hope you guys are okay with that, and at the very least, maybe it makes you feel better about you having down days and you having an artistic endeavor that you want to pursue that you don't get to every day, and then you go through the whole guilt cycle of, well, I wasted a day, or I wasted a weekend, or I could have been doing this and instead I just did nothing, But that's okay. It happens to everyone. It happens to the best of them, I'm sure. So, I guess if nothing else, this video might serve a purpose to that end, to make other people okay with having a down day. It's all good. Just try again tomorrow.